Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Jigsaw was nipping at me while I was eating this bread, and what I should not have put on that bread was peanut butter. Whoops. Oh, yeah, yeah. My lips are sticking together. Ah, ah. Tea, hot, just burnt my tongue. What a way to spend the day. Start the day. Start our recording, in fact.
Yep. So we can just roll intro here.
I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Deanna. And we're
The Halfwit Sisters.
I think that's the fastest roll intro we've ever had.
I mean, I had a story. I had two stories, in fact. Ugh. Okay. Um,
Let me take this down. Hold on.
it's too much for you.
I'm just like, I'm looking at it and it's not cooperating. And I have a very nice amount of hair. And it never does what I want it to do on the days that I need it to do stuff.
Yeah. Well, we always have to, well, you in particular always have to get your hair thinned out anyways.
Yeah. And last time I went to go get a haircut, I went to this place that my roommate recommended. I should have just gone and spent $100 on a haircut because at least they would have cut it properly.
Oh.
Because I went to go get like my face layering done, like the framing that I usually get when I get a haircut, and they took what they would take out for bangs and cut that.
Okay.
So now I have like hair that's here that just like goes into a bob. So that's fun.
Just gonna take the lid off of this so it cools better. It's peppermint tea, in case anybody wants to know.
We're off to a fantastic start this morning.
Now we can roll intro. I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Deanna. And we're
The Halfwit Sisters. Okay, so we're back. Welcome back to Halfwit Sisters.
Don't sound so excited, Becca.
I mean, I'm not excited, to be honest. We're going to be talking about. So, this is the episode setup. Look, okay, recap last episode. We talked a little bit about romance, like why we don't know anything about it. I talked a little bit about that. We talked a whole lot about that. In fact, that's most of what that episode is.
Yeah.
And then we talked a little bit about storyboarding and how we don't do like industry standard. Yeah, like we're like none of our stuff that we've shown so far at all is industry standard at all. And I think that's pretty like most people that do indie stuff don't really do industry standard. They do what works for them.
Yeah.
And then when they start bringing on like actual professionals, that's when they start like going, oh, maybe we should probably do, closer to the standard.
Maybe I should learn how to do that.
Yeah, because the people walk in and are like, this is not how it's done. Yeah, we know.
It works.
Yeah. Okay. So episode setup. Yeah, I'm not excited. I tried to go back and watch it, but I don't enjoy it. So today we're gonna be doing a versus, which is uh DJ versus Becca over the new live action Mulan, and then we're gonna talk a little bit on my woes of being your editor and project management. We'll talk a little bit on that. And I think that's mostly going to be our episode today because we don't have a whole lot of time to be like going buck wild. So, the live action Mulan. We're a little behind on it. Most people have already given their opinions on it, and let's just say what most people have said. The things people are unhappy with is that even though it has Asian actors, um, people like Donnie Yen, who's very prominent right now, who's been doing like Ip Man, and whoever the actress is, I don't know her name. Even though they've had Asian actors, a lot of Asian actors, predominantly the production team, the writing team, and everybody behind the scene was all white. And that was the biggest sin to a lot of people who watched the live action Mulan. So that's the biggest issue a lot of people take with that film. So I wanted to get that out of the way. That's not something we're really going to talk on. We know it's a thing. We're going to talk on specifically our feelings of what we had with the film.
Can I just say something, Becca? Because I looked at the cast real quick.
Uh-huh.
How did I not realize Jet Li was the Emperor?
Probably because of the makeup. Like, not even I realized that Jet Li was the Emperor.
Yeah, Jet Li was the Emperor.
Well, also because he didn't really have like that much of a showing in the. He was in there for what, like all of 5 minutes of the film.
Huh. Okay, well, that happened.
Like I said, he was in there for all of 5 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
Try to drink this without burning my face off again. Not the smartest beverage I've had on this show. Okay, so let's go. DJ versus Becca. 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 You loved it. I hated it. Make your case. Why was Mulan a good film?
Okay. So I'm actually going to pull it back just a little bit. So when we decided to do this, I watched Mulan 2020, Mulan 1998, and Mulan Rise of the Warrior, which is a Chinese film released in 2009. I also went and read The Ballad of Mulan.
The hell? I only watched the 2020. Like, I only got one source to feed from. Okay, go for it. Keep going.
I sent you The Ballad.
Things were happening. Okay, keep going.
So The Ballad is 360 words. And it is that's it. It just goes basically, hey, this lady Mulan, her father has to go to war. She's not happy about this, so she goes and buys all the supplies that she needs from the 4 different markets, so no one knows what she's doing. And then she goes to war in her father's place, and she's generals die. She lives. She's getting rewarded by the emperor, who's like, "Do you want to be a minor official?" And she's like, "No, I want to go home." And so she goes home, gets back her feminine persona, and then tells her comrades she's a woman. And they're like, "What? 12 years and we didn't know this?" And then they didn't know the last few lines. They didn't know Mulan was a girl. The he hare's feet go hop and skip. The she hare's eyes are muddled and fuddled. Two hares running side by side, close to the ground. How can they tell if I am a he or a she? Which was the entire moral of the story is you can't tell gender in action. Mm-hmm. Like, gender doesn't matter when it comes to some things. That was the entire purpose of the story. A lot of the complaints that I heard for the 2020 Mulan version is Mulan was supposed to be this everyday girl, plain Jane, who shows you can save China. That wasn't the original moral, not from the ballad and not from the 98 cartoon. The original was, it doesn't matter your gender, you can succeed and help save the world. So I was like, a lot of what I was seeing on that was just like a misunderstanding on like what the 2020 version was supposed to be.
So I think other people were also just hearing from other people and just going, oh no, this is what that person, and they were taking the word of like other people from that race. Well, I'm just gonna be honest about it. They were taking the word of other Japanese. Chinese. Oh my god, Chinese. Yes, Chinese. Wow, that was embarrassing.
Just take a second.
They're taking the word of Chinese Americans and saying that, hey, this is what they said Mulan was supposed to be. Okay.
Yeah.
Go for it. I apologize. I did not mean to come off like that. I've been watching way too much anime these last couple of days.
So, like, and that's why I wanted to go back and read the ballad, because I was like, what was the original one? Was it that this plain Jane girl was supposed to be able to, like, save the world? No, it didn't matter the gender. That's why I also watched the 2009 Mulan Rise of the Warriors, which is a Chinese film. Mm-hmm. And it pretty much goes the same way, where she doesn't get revealed. She reveals herself. And she also doesn't marry the Shang character.
Mm-hmm.
Because he turns out to be a prince. Spoiler.
Yeah.
But so when I'm watching 2020, I didn't realize until I was watching it back last night, they put two hares running side by side in the very beginning of the film.
Two hares?
Hares.
Bunnies, right. Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was pretty cool. So, like, yes, it was a predominantly white cat production company, and they should have totally had more Asian, Chinese involved in it. But they did try to pay some homage to the original ballad and homage to the cartoon with the music score and some of the lines. But overall, the film to me was just like Hollywood meets Disney meets Chinese martial arts films. And that's why I liked it, because you're getting kind of the ridiculousness of the joke we always said when we were growing up. The reason they could fly was all the rice.
Yeah. So, okay, that was racist, but yes. Yes.
Yes. Fully aware that it was a joke, bad joke.
It is a racist joke. But growing up, that was one of the things that was said. Let's put down, we know it's racist. But, like, during that, growing up, we used to watch things like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Hero, you know, things that were where wire work was very much used, and the running joke a lot of times was, man, we need to eat a lot more rice. Uh,
Well, they always ate rice in the movies too. Like every
yeah,
time they ate, it was predominantly just rice.
and not to mention that rice is a very
Staple in their diet.
in
Yeah.
a lot of Asian cuisine, yes.
So, yes, fully aware it's a racist joke. Was not aware at the time because we were what, 10, 12?
Yes. Yes. Um, okay, so a lot of great points. You went in a completely different direction. I was sticking with just the film itself. So if well, so I was sticking with the film itself. The storytelling for me, they went with the whole chi thing. Um, and here's the thing. Like a lot of times when people are doing like Asian stories, they go, "Oh, chi this, chi that, and chi makes you kind of like this powerful being that can do anything." Right? So they use kind of this cliche story element or tool that is used in a lot of kind of Asian storytelling. So I wasn't exactly excited about that, and I was like, "Oh, great, that's going to be playing a massive thing, and now she's going to be some sort of superhero in this." So I wasn't really excited about that. The thing that I didn't enjoy the most was the fact that they had this really interesting character, the witch. And I think they did her dirty. She perhaps had probably one of the most interesting backgrounds of all the characters, and that includes Mulan, of all the characters there. Like, I wanted to know way more about this witch, like why she was helping the Huns. Like, we get a glimpse of it, don't get me wrong. We get a glimpse of it. But then all of a sudden we get to the end and she recognizes Mulan is like her, right? That's the whole thing about her and Mulan's story. You're like me. And Mulan's like, I'm nothing like you. And towards the end of it, spoiler alert, let's just put like a giant spoiler alert, like at the beginning of this whole section. Uh, but of like our whole Mulan talk. Um, I felt like her portrayal of the Hans was a poor buildup. I felt like they really should have that, like that was the real story of Mulan. Like they really should have gone in for that one. The other thing that you brought up, the martial arts and the wire work and stuff like that, it was boring. Donnie Yen is so much better than what they showed in this movie. If you've watched him in Ip Man, if you've watched him in any of the other shows that they've had him out in, especially these last, like, what, 10 years, he is just phenomenal in all the roles that he has been in. And to have him kind of, and this is my same gripe that with what they did with him in Rogue One. They didn't use him enough to really show what he can do. And I know he's not like the focal point, but like I feel like he should have been able to really like go all Karate Kid, you know what they did with Jackie Chan and Jade Smith, like really talk on how karate, or not karate, but kung fu is important in how it could help with the flow of chi, like because that was also, you know, clearly important in this movie. But they didn't give him that. They were so focused on here's all these separate stories we've got to weave together that it just was very disjointed, right? And that was my problem as well. Like you have all these different stories that are very disjointed. So when you get to the wire work, finally my last gripe. When you get to the wire work, it was plain Jane for me. There's so much. I'll bring it back to like the last story, the last movie I referenced. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragons, probably one of the most well-known movies out there that also introduced the whole wire work, flying, karate, martial arts, sword fighting out there for the Western audience. And to see it used in Mulan, it wasn't the greatest. They tried, and I'll give them that, but they could have done a little bit better. So those were my few things. So to sum it all up, the story was very disjointed because they were trying to tell too many. You got the Hun's story, you've got the witch's story, you've got Mulan's story, and then you've got the little stories in between of like Donnie Yen trying to help his people, and then the little romance that was going on between her and the guy who was not interested, but they were trying to make something happen between the dude and the tent, right? Those little things just kind of brought down the movie. And then what they did with the witch towards the end, it wasn't fully fleshed out, and just like, oh crap, we have to do something with her. Oh, let's just kind of kill her off. And that was it. That was her what do they call it? Her retribution towards Zan. Yeah, I know I killed a whole bunch of... Huh?
Redemption?
Yes, her redemption. That was her quick redemption. And that was for the build up for that moment, that was crappy for me. I was like, no, I don't like this at all. But at the same time, they've shown that she was so powerful. Like, if she had truly, like, turned around and been like, no, I'm totally going to help out, she would have totally destroyed all the Huns and left nothing. But I think that would have been a more interesting story if you had made Mulan regular, right? And she gets to that end, and she had help. She helped change the mind of the witch to get her to help out. That would have been a way more interesting story.
More interesting, but a complete divergence from the original story.
I agree, but then you would have but the witch wasn't in the original story either.
Yeah.
So really, what would it have mattered?
I do agree. Like, they could have done better storytelling on, like, Mulan realizing she needs to be true to herself and the witch's backstory. They could have been more clear on all of that. I'm not disagreeing with that. That is completely true. But that wasn't the story that they were supposed to be trying to tell.
Right. And like, even on that, if I wanted to focus in on just Mulan's story, right, which I haven't talked on a lot, Mulan's story for me was boring. I got where, I guess she's like trying to rescue, and she's, you know, it's the Mulan story, right? So we're familiar with the Mulan story. But I didn't connect with it. And it's because, like again, the whole Chi thing, right? Like, she's not being true to herself. Hold on. I sat quietly and let you go through yours. Like, the whole Chi thing, I just felt like that was unneeded, right? Like, you could have just totally done the whole she's the boy girl thing. You could have just done that and not worried about the Chi thing, right? You could have totally just let her work through this idea of struggling with this like, I'm not being true to myself because I'm staying hidden, right? But the Chi thing I felt was just really unneeded. And then I don't know how, like, to fully explain, but I just was not interested in her story the same way that I was interested in the witch or in the Huns, right? Because she just felt really plain compared to the others.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like for me. Her story was just not as interesting as the others.
Yeah. Which I get. Definitely I would have liked more on, especially between the witch and the Huns. Or it wasn't even the Huns, it was the Ranyu, or I think is what they called them.
Yeah.
And like I said, I agree with that. But for me, I I think I did connect a little bit with Mulan's story because it goes with the chi thing. Um, I understand that it made her like this super person, but my take on that is there's always something that makes you unique, is what we were told. And people will tell you not to show it, or that it's not worth something, and so you hide it away until a moment happens that you realize, oh, this is a good thing. I'm capable of something, whether it be a talent or just your smarts or something that is a benefit to society or a benefit to your life. And then someone tells you, no, you should hide that because it's not appropriate for you.
So you're saying that the chi was kind of like a metaphor for that talent. Okay. I can see them using it like that. I can see them using it like that, but I think there's better ways of doing it.
Sure, but that's the story they went with.
Yeah, that I know that's the story they went with. And that's fine. In the end, what I feel like they lacked was making Mulan's story interesting. Every other character had more flavor to them than Mulan. From the witch to the Guan Yu to even Donnie Yen's character and the supporting characters all had way more flavor. Even her sister, who was only like in there for like 4 minutes of the film, who was afraid of the spider, had way more flavor to her than Mulan's character. That's what I feel like. And that's not to say like Mulan super sucked, because she was struggling with some things on her own, and there were things that were slightly interesting about her. Like I do like that her thing that she excelled at, but they didn't really do a whole lot with, was the spear. She excelled with the spear, but they only showed it twice. That's it. So they show that's her weapon, but they only show her twice with that. And if that's supposed to be her thing, why didn't they make it her thing towards when she finally says, "Oh, I'm really coming out of my shell"? That because that was where her chi was strongest at. They made that a point to say that was where her chi was strongest at. So I'm just gonna end it there. That's my thing. I'm ending it there. Those are the things that I feel like where Mulan was strongest at and where Mulan was weakest at. Strongest at all the side characters, weakest at Mulan herself.
Like I said, I don't agree. I enjoyed the movie. The cinematography was great. The music was a nice little homage to the original. Most of the acting was great. I can see where a lot of people complained about Mulan being a little bit wooden, but you can also harken that back to she's hiding the fact that she's a woman, and if she's very expressive, she'll get discovered.
Yeah.
So she's just following what she can. So I enjoyed it. I see all the problems. That doesn't mean that I don't enjoy the film. I recommend watching the film. Maybe you don't want to pay the $30 for it. That's fine. It comes out free December 4th.
Or you can look on TikTok and find all the ways that people have been watching it for free.
Yeah.
But then you do a disservice and you don't support the people that have been.
There has been a lot of work that went into it. And wherever you stand, I know there was some controversy with it. We're not getting into that. If you want to support the people who worked on it, please either spend the $30 or wait until December 4th to watch it. I enjoy it. I think it's the best live action remake that they have done. Because I did not enjoy Beauty and the Beast. I think the story that the changes to the story just weren't needed. The only thing I did like was adding in Beast's song. But like the entire storyline with the mother I thought was unneeded. The fact that they made the father just an artist and Belle the inventor, I think took away from the reason that he would have taught her to read and be such a smart character.
Okay, we're not debating all the other ones.
I am. Lion King was just a wholly unneeded film. But it's just like all these other live actions that they've done, I just didn't really add anything to the stories. Either took the stuff away. I think Mulan stands on its own as a story and not just a remake.
Okay.
Oh, and I also really do recommend you go watch Mulan Rise of the Warrior. It's a good film. It goes, while the 2020 version touched on the horrors of war, it goes into it.
Yeah. If you're looking for like a really good female action film, I recommend Chocolate Tie. It's a really good one. Don't worry about the story at all. You're just looking for some action. Chocolate Tie is a really great one. I say Chocolate Tie, it's really just chocolate, but it's a Thai film. It's made by the same people. If you've watched Ombak, The Warrior, it's made by those same people. It's a Thai martial arts film. It's a Thai action film. It's really great. I enjoy the hell out of it every single time, and that's one of the ones I recommend the most. So, or if you're on Netflix, there's another one called Fury that's out on there. So go check those out. And if you're looking for just like, I just want to watch one where it's just great, but it's kind of uses like the Taken with Liam Neeson kind of feel, go for one called The Man from Nowhere. That's a good one. Not a female one, but it's a good one. Okay, so we're going to leave that there. Wasn't as heated as we thought it was going to get. But that's because one of us went and was like the overachiever on that. And I just was like, I couldn't even bring myself to rewatch it. I tried. I started it, and then I just went and watched Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. I've been on like that Honey, I done the da 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 da. So Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, and Honey, I Shrunk Ourselves. Which, okay, side note, complete thing. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. All three of those films is a great watch of like how the movie industry went from using practical effects to using CG, computer generated images. Because Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, they used a lot of practical effects, like everything from their scenes, like they really built all the grass, all the like the big Lego stuff, everything they did was all practical effects. Honey, I Shrunk the Kid, Honey, I Blew Up the Kids still used practical effects, but that's when they were starting to add in the computer generated green screens into it. And then when you get over to Honey, I Shrunk Ourselves, they moved away from practical effects and went more green screen than anything else. And I felt like, oh, this movie lost a lot because they weren't using the same amount of practical effects as they used in the first two movies. So it's a great study on just like the evolution of film just with those three movies.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if you get a chance and you have Disney Plus, or if you have those three movies or a way to watch those three movies, go check those out. I think they're a great film study. Okay.
Also, just proves practical effects are superior.
Well, yes. In another series of films that are really good in kind of showing the difference between practical effects versus CG is The Lord of the Rings. Peter Jackson was all for practical effects, and then when you get into like later work of his, he starts moving into more CG, like with The Hobbit, and you can see like the vast difference between like how interesting the filming was in the Lord of the Rings series versus his Hobbit, like the Hobbit series that he does. Even Ian McClane says like there's a very well-known story about like how he's filming a scene on his own in a CGI setting and there's nobody else there and he's just sitting there and he's like, this is not what I became an actor for, because he's filming this whole thing. It's supposed to be him and the dwarves, and they're at Bilbo Baggins' Hobbit hole, and they're all meeting for the first time, and they're all going to go on this big journey to go to whatever it was.
The mountain.
Right. And like that scene was when it was him filming, it was just him versus everybody else doing their own thing. It was just him. And he was like, this isn't what I signed up for. Now, and like when you watch it in Lord of the Rings, when they're doing the stuff in Lord of the Rings, they use perspective to really set up the difference between his height versus Frodo's.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that.
Which is cool because you can go and watch all the behind the scenes on those and just the camera tricks and the way they designed the set to be able to do that is astounding. And that's one of the reasons I love practical effects is because it feels so much more real and is real because it's happening. And it gives the actors stuff to work off of. When you just have to sit there in a room and like act like you're watching other things happen, it's hard to get into that moment.
Right. Okay, so there's another thing. Comes from the MCU universe. The guy who plays the robot from Avengers, one of the Avenger movies. Shoot, what was it?
Ultron or Vision?
Ultron, yeah. Ultron. The guy who plays Ultron. They were talking about how I watched this it's from a Fact Fiend video. I'll post that down in our description. But the Fact Fiend video was talking about how they had to like really edit some of the film because a lot of the times the actor was because he's wearing, Ultron's taller than he is, so he's wearing like this rig where like he has like a tennis ball, right? He's got this stick and a tennis ball at the top, and that's where the head of Ultron's supposed to be, but his head is like where the crotch region of Ultron is. But he's like so engaging and interesting when he's doing Ultron's lines. Like a lot of times the actors are just like watching him and forget like they need to watch the tennis ball, like look up there. So like a lot of times they'll have like scenes where they're looking at Ultron's crotch and they're like, oh crap, we got to edit that out so we can just... So yes. Funny anecdotes that we come across. Yes, this is now cool enough that I don't burn my face off when I drink this. Okay. Alrighty. Side notes done. Let's get to the next part. Okay, give me a second. I need to run and get my mouse so that I can do the jumpy roundy thingy that I need to do. Oh, gosh. Don't look at me like that.
Sitting here at a roaring room, just around the thunder. I don't know, I'm wasting my time, I got nothing to do. I'm wasting my time, nothing I do. And I wonder, isolation, it's not good for me. Isolation, I don't wanna, then I'm
Nothing.
All right. I'm going to speak on my woes. I'm going to share something. I'm going to share a couple things real quick. Let me just drag them up.
Yeah. Also, by the way, Becca, I took 2, 3, 4 pages of notes on the Mulan movies.
Over prepare.
I like Mulan, okay? She's my favorite. As a character. Mm-hmm. Not just the 2020 movie. Just as a character, she's always been my favorite. So when you're like, let's go versus, I'm like, 4 pages of notes. We got the 2020 version, the 09 version, the 1989 version, and the poem.
I was very not prepared for what you were about to bring. Like, the energy you were going to bring, I was not prepared for. That's the truth. See your face?
I see my face.
Okay, works first time. All right. So in my notes for this episode, it is, let me share my woes with you. I want to point out, I'm not mad at you. If anything, I'm more upset with myself. I wasn't very clear when I made my stuff. When we started this whole thing, like how I wanted some things to be, why I wanted them that way. And so very early on, the reason why I haven't brought up any of the Trillo stuff is because it fell apart right at the beginning of our venture. Like, right at the very beginning. In fact, when you sent the first file of all your henchmen stuff, pretty much my Trillo thing fell apart. This wasn't gonna work out. And then I realized it's not because it's more because you didn't know, because it's one of the things you've never worked with somebody else, and also you don't know like how my brain needs to work, and there's not been like a template or anything that was in place for some of the things that I need, right? DJ?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay. And so I'm not upset with you. I'm upset with myself. So a lot of my project management, a lot of my stuff fell apart right at the very beginning, and I was just kind of like, well, I'm just gonna have to live with it and start building that stuff along the way. And I did. I went to, so if you have, I have here in my templates some things that I've built up that we can start using in the future. Again, none of our stuff is standard. This is stuff, and this is also stuff that I've kind of started building on. So this is a template that we can definitely start using in the future. Script name, type of script, because I cannot continue to like decipher what kind of script you're building or like where it is, especially in the thing like whether or not it's an acting challenge, a solo, a duet, or whatever it is that you're going to want to do with the TikTok script.
Yeah,
I can't.
You seem to think every time we have another character that it's supposed to be an acting challenge, and no, some of those are just POVs.
Right, and it's just because like that's what my brain goes towards automatically, and I don't know why. So I just like that's all my brain can pull up. It automatically when I see two or more characters, I think, oh, we're gonna have two or more actors, right? Because that's what my brain brings up. And I know that's not always the case, but my brain automatically goes to that thing. So to save myself that that frustration, and honestly, I my brain gets super tired when I'm reading and working and editing a lot of words. I've created like script type here. So we can start adding in like this is a TikTok, and then it's like we can put like which I don't even have to like do. So here, and I oh my gosh, I have so many folders now. So what I did with all of our approved stuff is I went ahead and I broke them out into our separate things so that you can see what I'm doing, what I mean now. So here's the script type, the script name, the script type. If it's wrong, you can go in and just change it. If this is an acting challenge, you can put like solo or whatever it like perfect loop or whatever it's supposed to be. The script body, and then I have your storyboards in here. And then after the storyboard, it's like what we need. Supplies, we need a computer, a button to push. And we can also put in there like what the light settings need to be, what the camera settings need to be. Whatever it needs to be for this shoot, we can put it in here. That way we have a documentation of it, and we can know, we can refer back to this often whenever it needs to be done. So this is kind of what I want to do in the future, and I need to make sure that, you have access to the script templates moving forward. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And that will also help me with the Trello so that I can also keep an idea of where we are on our whole thing. So if we're just scripting it, like, okay, I've got it in script, I've got it in our second review, or I've got it in our storyboard and film section. And if we're like, okay, always read the manual, we've storyboarded it, we filmed it, and now we've got this one in the cutting room. Now we've got it in our final review. And each one of these has a link that leads to that particular doc.
Mm-hmm.
Doc. I also built on redundancy. I have a ton of redundancy. Let me go back to here. I have a ton of redundancy. So even our master doc is on redundancy. It should be whatever. The Trello, the character bios, the approved manuscripts. I even have like the henchman era. And then here you're going to start seeing our links either in the cloud or where we're posting them. So if it's TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, like we'll have those links there, the video types. So again, if it's acting challenge, if it's a solo, if it's whatever, like we're going to have that there so that we know what it is that we're putting up in the description. Like these are the things that I need so that I can keep track of like how we're building and doing this stuff for future things that we build as we move forward on projects.
So I fully expected you to pull the scripts from that master doc of what I wrote, because I just pull up a file and I write and I just add it all into there. And so like I knew that was not how you worked. So I fully expected you to just take it and put it into a doc that you needed, which is why it was there.
Right. I think
I needed to see them in order so that I knew what story we had done and what story we hadn't done without having to refer to 50 different documents.
Right. Well, if you could just help me out by like, if we put approved in that doc, like help me out by like, okay, well now it's approved, we can move. If I move it out, then you can put the screenshot of your storyboard into the new doc. Right. Yeah. If you can help me out there, that takes a little bit of the work off of me. You got to also understand, I get really tired when I'm editing reading, because I have to read and I have to edit, and then I also have to translate a lot of the stuff that you're writing, get the context of what you're trying to put down. We went through this a couple episodes ago. Like, sometimes your context is missing and I'm trying to understand what it is. And I'm also making sure now that I have the suggestions on, so I'm not just randomly going in and making edits and your shit's disappearing, right? Like, I'm trying to make sure that these things are done. I have, for those, back to the viewers, I have dyslexia. And words are hard. Very hard. And I have actually pretty severe dyslexia. I went and got tested a couple months ago to learn like how severe my dyslexia is. I excel at comprehension. This is what I was told. I excel at comprehension. Actually, writing and spelling were my lowest category. But I was great at knowing what you were trying to say and knowing what was going on in a story. That's what I excelled at. And the person that gave me the test was like, "That's really interesting because that's normally not how that works." So having to like read, then edit, and even spell, like that's a lot of work. And my roommates can tell you, they'll hear all of a sudden a toot, maintenance. And that's me using like the speech to text to spell a word. I'm like, or I'll put up a separate tab that will have like define and define, and I'll copy whatever word I know that I'm misspelling and put it in there just to see if Google can give me what the word is. Yes, I have Grammarly, but even Grammarly is like, what the hell are you trying to spell? And give me like 20 different words that are not what I'm looking for. So that, plus everything else that I'm doing, plus the project management, my brain gets tired really fast. And it leads to some quick frustration if I'm constantly not only having to like translate what you're trying to say, but also work out how this project is trying to look. I get really frustrated and really sad quickly. And it's not like your fault. That's my brain. It's a blender that takes all the information in and then spits out random crap. And this project gets hard, especially when I'm having to go through and edit over 10 or 15 scripts in a go, right? Because I don't do one at a time. I know that I have to do several in a day in order to stay on track for whatever we need to do for the next thing, right? For her to get to her point, for me to get to my point, that thing needs to happen. And that was the same thing that yesterday, like I had to edit a couple other of your scripts, pull them out, put them where they needed to go, but also figure out whether or not they were acting. And I did get a little frustrated. You're like, this isn't an acting script. Not everything is an acting challenge. And I was like, well, I don't know that. My brain sees, my brain sees that there's more than one person speaking. And so it automatically thinks, well, there's more than one person, so that's what it's got to be. Right. And even though logically I know that's not how it is, my brain automatically goes, well, that's what it's got to be. Right. Yeah.
Which is kind of frustrating to me, Becca, because I don't write many acting challenges. There are very few that I would have as an acting challenge. And if they are an acting challenge, there would only be one other character speaking. But not all of the scenes are that. Most of them are just POVs.
So this is why
that's the standard is POV.
So this is why I decided that I would add in, tell me what type of script it is. Okay, that makes it a lot easier on me. So that
Sorry, Neil's texting.
Can you flip your phone over? So that's why, like, especially as we move forward in the future, I know we're going to be trying to jump on some trends. And we're going to be doing some quick script writings. And we're going to want to put what that trend is in the script type. So just put the script type. So that's why I have that now there. Just tell me what the script type is. So I don't have to, so my brain's not working extra hard. It's already working extra hard on trying to edit and comprehend what you're writing. I'm not saying it's just one thing. That's it. That one thing that I'm asking, please, even if you're like, well, they're all supposed to be POVs, just add that in. Say this POV. It saves me just that little bit of time and my brain doesn't freak out. Like, that's it. That's the only thing I'm asking for you to add on your titles. And I'll handle everything else. Just put that last thing on there and it saves me so much time and frustration for everything. And I don't feel like I'm falling apart at the end of the day. So those were the things I wanted to bring up. Like, my project management fell apart at the beginning because like this thing happened and I was like, and then I was like, well, I don't even have like templates or things or like any of that going on. So of course, like this stuff isn't going to be happening in the ways that I want it anyways. And I'm not setting up like what I expect, like my expectations either. So I can't be mad if I'm not setting up these expectations. Excuse me. So I wanted to make sure like I showed, here's what I want. Even if you're not pulling out the scripts and putting them into that doc, at least put the storyboard in there and put the supplies needed for shooting or in the other stuff, because you know that better than I do. And that's important for documentation. That's important for us to refer back to, for us to grow with each project we do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That ends Rebecca's woes as a project manager and as the editor. But I wanted to share that with you. Like, that was what I did over the weekend and yesterday. And I also went through and I wrote Belladonna's Why She Became Evil.
Yeah. Which frustrated me so much, Becca, because I'd been working on these TikTok scripts for weeks with the thought that Belladonna doesn't interact with Ethan at all because she's just a henchman. And then you give us this background. And I'm like, I love the background. I wish I would have known that weeks ago.
Well, so that was why I built the background the way I did. Like, the ways that you have already written the script didn't really matter how you've been doing it, right? It mattered the last few scripts. I figured I would just go ahead and write those. The where she
Finally gets fed up.
Yeah.
Which is why I hadn't numbered them on that master doc, because I was like, these are going to change. These aren't great. I don't have I don't have her quit. Like, I wrote a quit scene, but I'm like, this is not a great quit scene. So I'm like, I've been working like on doing all these TikToks and like, I don't know how to write story. I'm not a writer. So I'm like, I don't like that I have had to take on all the TikTok writing because I didn't know what story you were coming up with because you hadn't had anything. And I've been working on it for weeks.
You did a really good job, though. No lie, though. You did a really great job. What you came up with, you did a really great job. And the editing that I did was minimal, except for the last time that we got into an argument over one of them. The editing that I did to them was actually pretty minimal. There was like word choices that I had to fix. That was it. The last couple, though, that was definitely where we started seeing where, okay, now we really need to worry about the story here. And that's where we started bumping up because, and I realized that myself. Okay, I failed by not giving you a clear understanding of what character or what kind of character we were building here and there. And that is totally on me. I'm not even going to lie. I understand that I failed in this aspect, and how can I fix that as quickly as possible? And I chose to focus on two characters to build their background as quickly as possible. And that was one of the things why I focused on Belladonna's background last night to get it out as quickly as possible, even though I know you've been working on it for weeks. But I was like, okay, I know, based on what you have written so far and what we know of Skylar that we've gone through and what we've talked about over the last couple of weeks, what can we do? What can we bring out of Belladonna? And that's what I came up with. I think you said you liked it. Did you like it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So now that I have that, I can go through and finish. Like, you can leave the last bits to me. I will finish that off, and we'll have Henchman Belladonna done. That whole series can be done, and you can focus on starting getting the rest of the storyboards done and shooting going. And then it's just me getting the game done, and getting the game outline done so you can see where we're heading with it. If you like what that looks like, then we'll get the scripting done, and after the scripting you can move into storyboarding, and then we'll look at villain, check out how we want to start doing some of the villain stuff for TikTok. Which, quick update on TikTok, apparently the state
We're still not really sure what's happening.
Well, the state, the judge stopped the removal of TikTok.
Yes, but they still have to litigate everything, and they have until tomorrow to do it. Because China's not going to approve the deal. That's the last piece of the puzzle that we were waiting on. China's not going to approve the deal because it's just extortion in their eyes, and yeah, it is. So they're not going to approve the deal, and if they don't approve the deal, it won't go through. Which means the executive orders would go through. Hence why the court case is so important. And we have to see what happens in the courtroom, and hopefully we will hear by October 1st.
Well, that also leads to November. If the deal is not reached by November, then TikTok will be banned in the US.
Yeah, November 12th. If the judge rules in the Trump administration's favor, then that means that on November 12th, it will be deleted off of our phones because it will be officially banned in the US.
Mm-hmm. In that case, our plan is to move all of our stuff over to Twitter and Instagram. And to answer your question, DJ, on like how will our videos work, we will start our Halfwit channel on Instagram and on Twitter. And those videos we can put on our feed for Instagram. Instagram allows you to put at least a minute-long video. We won't have Facebook because Facebook is kind of not the greatest thing, so we won't really go there, but we will be on Instagram and on Twitter.
Yeah.
So that will answer your questions. So keep an eye out for those. I'm still going to probably build those channels here in the next couple of weeks. I know it takes less than like a minute to build those channels, but but there are a couple of reasons why I haven't gone forward and built them. So we'll just get that stuff. But once I have those built, you will see an announcement come out about those, and I will have them linked down in our descriptions of every video that we have. And then you'll see him in oh, if you haven't, I should have mentioned this at the very beginning too. In one of our videos we were talking about the iCards. If you're watching on the consoles, on like a console, you're not going to see them pop up. Like if you're watching on your on like your Xbox or your PlayStation or something like that, you're not going to see them pop up. But if you're watching it on your phone or on your computer, you'll see them pop up. On the one where we were talking about our iCards, I had them pop up. And one of them was like, yes, I know they exist. Here it is again. Boom. It's like subscribe. So I will put them up in an iCard and stuff for people to check out. But okay, so I just wanted to make sure I address those things before we're still keeping an eye on, and if TikTok fully goes away, we're not going anywhere. Those videos will be up in another place.
Yeah. I mean, we might want to do it up there anyway. Just like have it premiere on TikTok first and then like a couple weeks later on Instagram.
Yes. Wow. Alrighty. Well, we didn't even say this at the beginning of the video. We were talking about that. If you would like to follow us and keep up with our wacky antics and see what we verse each other in next time, hit the subscribe button, the bell icon for the notification, and comment down below what you liked or whether or not you checked out it, or if you're going to check out the new Mulan movie. Yeah, movie. Or what your feelings are on CG versus practical effects. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.